Hi, it's Fee here from the Mindful Dietitian. I just had a really interesting conversation with a colleague of mine, or ours, just about situations we find ourselves in as dietitians or healthcare providers where we might be feeling a little bit stuck, or we might be feeling drawn into doing things or saying things which are maybe not aligned with the principles that we work with, especially if we identify as non-diet dietitians or anti-diet, weight inclusive, health at every size aligned, however you name your practice and how you wish to show up for your particular clients and communities. Anyway, as a result of this conversation, we were talking through, some of the ways that that I respond when I'm feeling stuck, and how I guide the supervisees that I work alongside, that I have the great pleasure and privilege of working alongside, through their particular stuck points. And we all have them. I've been doing this particular practice for 20 years, and I continue to find new edges to my own work. So there is no such thing as done, I believe, especially in weight inclusive work. So anyway, I was thinking about it, and interestingly enough, it was actually really amusing, is that when I thought about it, there was actually 3 S's all in a row. So I wanted to share them with you because I thought, this might be helpful, hopefully, for some of you. So the first thing is, when we're feeling stuck or under pressure, the first thing is set it up. The second thing is slow it down. And the third thing is self-reflect. We could have a fourth called supervision, and that would come as no surprise to those of you who know that I'm a huge fan of self-reflective practice, particularly in the context of a confidential, respectful, inclusive space like supervision. And when I was thinking specifically about set it up, slow it down, and self-reflect, I was really thinking through a trauma-informed lens. And again, those of you who know my work will know that I come at all of my work both as a dietitian and as a yoga teacher, educator, etc., through a trauma-informed lens. And basically what doing trauma-informed work means that we're not assuming whether or not the people, individuals or groups or communities of people that we're working with have or have not experienced trauma, but that we know that many people in our community, whether or not they have named it as such, it could be said, especially this year, that a lot of people have experienced significant degrees of chronic stress, which to our biological system, to our nervous systems, this is experienced very similarly to experiences of trauma, whether those are one-off experiences or repeated experiences over time. So rather than putting trauma and trauma-informed care into a particular narrow box, I like to think about it as an overarching philosophy or an approach or a set of principles which encourage us not to make assumptions about people's experience, but encourage us to be careful and thoughtful and create a sense of safety and expectancy to all kinds of experiences that we are guiding our clients and communities through. So with this in mind, set it up, slow it down, self-reflect. So what setting it up means is that when we are first meeting with our clients or meeting with groups, that it's really important to be really clear about what we offer. It's more important to be clear about what we do offer than what we don't offer. And just remembering that anything that somebody perceives as threat is likely to have a nervous system response. And remembering that when our autonomic nervous system, which happens under the level of awareness or consciousness, we tend to have the fight, flight, freeze, or maybe people pleasing as well. So fight, flight, freeze, please kind of responses. So it won't always be obvious if somebody is feeling like, oh, this is not suitable for me, or I don't like how this sounds. So setting things up right from the beginning for a dietitian, for example, might sound something like, it would be unsurprising that you're here wanting to change your body shape or weight at the same time as wanting to make peace with food and your body. That is completely unsurprising, because we exist in a world where bodies are seen in particular ways, and where we feel under pressure to be changing our bodies in ways which conform to that which might afford us more safety in the world. So it's unsurprising. Then we might follow that up with something like, this is a space where you're more than welcome to talk about those desires and urges, and anything that comes up around your desires to change your body shape and weight. That is not a problem at all. I'm so here for that. And then you might go on to talk a little bit about your own personal line in the sand, whether or not you provide meal plans, or whether or not you would refer on to somebody else if that's the avenue they wanted to go down, for example. And I'll tell you why the setup is really important, is because if we don't set it up, what will often happen around a couple of months down the track is a lot of people will experience an increase in anxiety or urges to want to go back to dieting, to want to go back maybe to restriction or any kind of behaviours which are associated with changing body shape, weight or size. And for very good reason. We need to remember that people go back to these not because they particularly want to, but because they feel like they have no choice. So for us, setting it up where people really do have fully informed choice is often the first time that people have experienced this, and to be able to create a space of safety, or as safe as possible, as I prefer to say, where autonomy is respected and people feel more inspired and empowered than overwhelmed and scared when they leave us. So setting things up right from the start is not only about consent and choice, but also creating expectancy of what they can expect in their work from you. It's really role modeling how it might feel, I should say, to be having conversations which might, take people a little bit more to their edge, that you're not there to fix or to take anything away, but to be there with people as they might courageously step through some pretty scary stuff. So that's the setup. Again, I set up all kinds of things when I'm teaching or speaking, or all kinds of things. It's really important. I call it front loading, but setting it up, or however you want to say it, is perfectly fine. And then the second thing is slow it down. So slowing it down is a really interesting one, because in healthcare, we're not used to slowing it down. It's been really embedded in us that slowing things down is a waste of people's time, it's a waste of their money, and you're not giving them the optimal service. So it really can grate against our training. It can also grate against our very dominant Western upbringing, if that is our upbringing, in fact, that slowing it down, it allows us to kind of back the car out of the garage and find a new way into a more effective way of working and of being as well. So whenever we have that stuck feeling in us, like we're feeling stuck with somebody, or we're noticing our client is feeling a little bit stuck, that is our first signal to slow it down. I often will say, if in doubt, slow it down. There's really nothing to be gained by accelerating things along or by pushing. And certainly behaviour change, I couldn't tell you in my 20 years practice of one situation where pushing or accelerating led to effective behaviour change. So certainly accelerating and pushing can lead to short-term kind of white-knuckling behaviour change, but it won't last. That's just not the way humans work. So if in doubt, slow it down. So what that might sound like is, when we have urges or temptations to kind of rush forward or interrupt or add an idea or offer a reflection, is just even saying those words to ourselves. Maybe find our seat, find our back in our chair, find our feet on the ground, take a breath, and remind ourselves it's okay to slow it down. Maybe that's a beautiful opportunity to offer, to invite a reflection, or to offer a little bit of an MI reflective statement, and then pause, and allow someone to be with whatever it is. So if in doubt, slow it down. And the third thing is self-reflection. I'm a massive fan of self-reflection, and have been in my own supervision for well over, I would say, 12 years, probably longer actually, and has been the most powerful tool that I can recommend Yes, it's an investment. It's an investment of time and energy and money and resources. And what it does offer you is a space where you can lean in and dig into what comes up for us when we're working in the healing spaces. You know, we can understand our own urges, we can understand our own nervous system, we can understand what are the intersections between kind of my stuff and my client's stuff. And although it isn't therapy, a lot of my supervisees, and I agree in my own supervision, is it feels therapeutic. So again, even though it's not actually formal therapy, that's for a different purpose. Certainly, you know, leaving supervision with a sense of I felt heard, I felt held, and I feel more equipped to be able to hold space for others, for my clients, who are bringing some pretty tough stuff to me as well. So we're kind of working on our own stuff as we're supporting others to work on theirs. So that brings me to the fourth thing, which was supervision. So if you are not in supervision and you're working with people with eating disorders, it unfortunately in dietetics it's not mandated, but I see it as a pretty much a non-negotiable in professional practice, not only for safety purposes but also for practice purposes as well, so that you can have regular opportunities to check in and reflect on your own practice and make any shifts that make sense to you. If you are looking for a supervisor, then I've got quite a list on the mindfuldietitian.com.au, the website there. And if you're curious about what supervision is, what it entails and how it can really elevate your own practice, then go to that website. There's a free course there that has been contributed to some amazing dietitians from all over the world who are supervising. So you can find out a little bit more if you're curious. So thank you for being here for my TED Talk and hope you found those tips for healthcare practice. I know I often talk about dietetic practice, but really I'm talking about all healthcare practitioners. So we're talking about setting it up, slowing it down, self-reflection and supervision. Have a great day, everybody.